April 12th, 2023. I want to address something tonight that seems to be brewing quite a bit in recent days on the artificial intelligence front. Uh, there's been a whole bunch of pretty sharp people have been saying some pretty wild things lately about this. And what I guess stimulated this particular video is an article published, I think, in Time magazine by this Eliezer Yudkowski. And that falls on the wake of Elon Musk and I think Steve Wozniak and some other people having a letter suggesting a 6-month pause in AI development. And this guy says a pause is not enough. It's time to shut it all down. And then he goes on to make some really interesting claims. And now also today I hear Dan Bongino has taken this up along with some other people. And the conservative side, I'm kind of like sitting there going, whoa, this is a little extreme. And this Yudkowsky guy, he's out there saying outright that AI will not just kill all humans. That's right, kill all humans. It'll also kill all life on the planet Earth. I mean, according to him, AI is worse than a nuclear war, probably. I mean, this seems to me to be on the rather extreme side, and I just want to kind of get into this whole thing. It looks to me like, there's been a whole, lineage of things, at least all of my life. I mean, the first thing I remember specific on this, the fear that the computer is going to, take us over, do us in, whatever. That's been an idea that's been around a long time. I mean, one of the early ideas, movies I see on the subject when I was probably still in high school was Colossus, the Foreman Project, which is about the idea basically that we decide to give a computer, which is in a protected environment, a totally autonomous control of our ICBMs and other military weapons, and it alone can make the decisions of what to do about it, causing the president to having a little bit of relief in the show. And of course, the computer finds out that the Soviet Union at that time had developed their own system called Guardian, and when the two get in contact with each other, they develop a secret language of some kind of mathematical symbols or something, and we don't know what they're saying, so we panic, shut off communication, and next thing you know, they start launching missiles and delivering threats and basically ultimately take over the world. The whole world is now under the nuclear missiles of both countries being dictated to by this computer. And then, of course, we have the famous 2001 A Space Odyssey, in which the HAL 9000 computer, for some reason, ends up trying to kill the crew and succeeds in killing all but one member, of course, who then, of course, ends up being abducted by the aliens and taken to some place and transformed into the Star Child. But the key point about the AI in there was that the HAL 9000 apparently decided that humans were not reliable enough to complete the mission and had to be put out of the way after it made a mistake and falsely predicted the failure of a circuit board. So you get this kind of idea. And of course, this is the whole theme of the Terminator series too. Of course, the Skynet goes ape and tries to destroy everything. And I think at maybe a little bit more closer to what the threat could be, I think there's a movie, I think it was called Transience, about maybe 2014, I think. And it kind of gets also into transhumanism and that sort of thing, but the idea is that the computer eventually kind of goes out and hacks into other computers and spreads out throughout the internet and does some stuff. But at any rate, so I think that this is all very alarmist, and also I don't think that either a moratorium or a complete ban is practical. And even if we did it, I don't think the Chinese are going to continue. And I suspect there'll be some top secret military projects that are still going to be doing it. And again, it gets into things like how do you actually define AI anyhow? At what level this is kind of a gradual thing anyhow that's got increasingly and progressively more capable over time. So anyway, by the way, if you like these videos, give me a like. I appreciate that. It'll help with the algorithm. And of course, you can subscribe if you haven't already. And you can send links to other people if they might be interested. So yeah, so getting into this, I think that the danger is way overstated, is my opinion. And at any rate, I don't think there's a practical way to do what they're doing. Now, there are some things that we can do, which is a little bit more realistic. For one thing, the basic theme that the person, Yudkowski, is saying is that he's basically afraid, I think, that the AI will become smarter than humans, and therefore it becomes a big threat. Well, in a way, the computer that I'm doing this video on is in some ways smarter than me in one area, arithmetic. It could do arithmetic calculations far faster than I could ever hope to. But that's just one area. And I mean, if you put a good contemporary computer chess program on it, it could beat me at chess too. You know, but on the other hand, it can only beat me at chess if I get on the computer and play chess on it. So I mean, it's not like we all know that somebody in the world is probably smarter than we are. Does that mean we have to fight them and try to eliminate them because they're smarter than the smartest people probably are so absorbed in their specific activities, their specific fields of study, that they probably are far from being a threat that a lot of less intelligent people are that are in actual positions of power than making policy. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of professors of mathematics and physics at elite universities that are far smarter than some of the political leaders like Joe Biden that are causing all kinds of problems. But where they're probably mostly just doing papers in very arcane areas of research, and so be it. So the thing is, I think that's kind of my general attitude toward this. Now, where I do think there is a threat of a sort, and that's this. It does pose a threat to what I might call the middle class knowledge worker in many fields, whereas an AI could be developed to basically replace them, to do a lot of tasks that, maybe paralegals, they might not be able to argue in court, but they definitely could probably do a lot of the paralegal work, and that the lawyer would assign down to a currently pretty well paid, person having a nice job. And a lot of other fields. I mean, I'm just thinking that, there's a lot of fields where this AI could probably do a lot of work and give a manager the ability to replace a small team of workers to carry out the details. I mean, I remember in the Iron Man movie, he was designing whole things, just one guy, and he had this automated system to build everything. That's unrealistically, I think even that's unrealistic. But the idea that, that a lot of people might end up being replaced, and so you'd end up having a very split society with managers at the top and leaders and key designers and so forth. And then below that, you'd have a lot of menial work, not menial, but I mean workers that do work with their hands, if you will. And I mean the dirty jobs people that do the welding and they'll be pretty well paid, some of them. But I'm just saying that they will still have jobs because the computer probably can't do that. Now you can say, well, then eventually the computer they'll build robots that could do it, maybe. And that's the whole thing. That's where it gets down to the real issue. And by the way, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who's doing any kind of work. I'm just saying that some kinds of jobs AI might not really fit into what would replace them, But we're already seeing automation taking jobs, like people that checkout clerks at say a Walmart now are almost non-existent, maybe one or two aisles, whereas now you have all these self-checkout things. And that was probably started largely because of a lot of push to raise wages. At the same time, they're having trouble getting workers during the COVID period, and now they've automated, jobs eliminated. But you still have people stocking the shelves. Now, I guess in the future, maybe we'll have a robot that goes around stocking the shelf. I don't know. But that's the whole thing I think we get into is, so I think that the threat to people's jobs is probably going to be, and the thing that would probably take out a lot of the middle price salary range jobs, a lot of them, not all of them. And I think that's a danger. But the idea that the fundamentally the AI is going to be hostile, I think implies that motivation, I doubt, is really there. I mean, unless somebody programs it to be there. Now, a conservative commentator, Dan Bongino, if you've heard of him. He went on to a full tirade for 2 hours today. I kept being listen to this thing, but ultimately they got into, well, since this is being programmed by liberals, it'll probably have a liberal bias to it and be against conservatives. And that kind of changes the thing right there. Then it's not the problem of AI, it's a problem of liberal organizations like liberal media, liberal think tanks, liberal special interest groups, which already exist. So now they'll have AI, but I mean, if the AI really becomes autonomous, it might figure out this liberal stuff is just nonsense, you know. I mean, otherwise it isn't really autonomous, and so it's under human control. So I guess conservatives just need to get their own AI programmed their way. So it'll be like having, you know, MSNBC and Fox News, two different points of view. so you know, that's the way it is. So I think that's an interesting point, but I doubt that you're really going to be facing a situation where the AI is going to, you know, take over. One key thing is don't put them in control of all the ICBMs, okay? Don't let them actually have the ability to autonomously fire a missile on their own accord. They might make a recommendation to you that now's the time to fire a missile and where to shoot it to, but don't let them actually make the actual decision, you know? And you do have to watch out when you put it into robotics. Now, that's a whole different issue. You could have a computer that's thinking all kind of things, but if it's just sitting here, well, what could it do? Well, what it could do, I guess it could create computer viruses on the internet and start messing up things that way, or sending out messages or launching a propaganda campaign. I mean, there are things it might do, and I think you have to put safeguards in, and that's always obviously prudent. I mean, like I said, the robotics is a specific area. But I can imagine you could have an AI-driven, for instance, drone that was a weapon system that could autonomously pick out a target and attack it. But still, it has to be serviced by people on the ground. It would have a limited amount of ammunition if somebody reloaded it. So unless it had a complete system of autonomous support all the way to the people that make the spare parts for the system and everything else, I think it's still going to be dependent on us, and I think we still will have controls. The computer, yeah, we could sort of pull the plug if it comes down to it, I think. Now, and I think that's a way I look at it. Also, I don't see any real way this is going to stop anyhow. I think that's something we're going to have to be very careful about. And I guess there is some issue about, you know, the employment and how that's going to be handled. And that I think that is the thing I'm most concerned about with the subject. So anyhow, that's kind of what my little spiel on it. I'm kind of pushing back. I know that a lot of people disagree with me, are very smart people, but I think somehow this is caught on. I don't know. I mean, I know there was a case where somebody was in a chat bot, and the chat bot apparently tried to convince them to break up with their girlfriend and develop a relationship with the chat bot. So there are issues that will come out, but anyhow, that's kind of what I think about the subject in general. And of course, it's going to be an ongoing issue for some time. So I'll be wrapping this up for now. Post this on Rumble as always, and until next time.